Welcome back to Sports Rehab, everyone. This is your host, V. Wallace, with the co-host, the man with the plan, also the master of doom and gloom, JC, sports genius, Jimmy Clark. And Jimmy, today is going to be a fun show. Am I right or am I wrong?
Lots going to be revealed today, Vince.
We're going to ask you guys to stick with us throughout the duration of the show today because we're going to have a good time from start to finish. This is Sports Rehab, the place where all sports addicts go. Not sure what that was, but we'll let it go. Yeah. This place where all sports addicts go. And today's show, we're going to focus on a few topics. We're going to talk a little bit about NBA free agency.
Yep.
Getting some crazy numbers out of the NBA. We're going to talk some Mavs.
Yes.
Going to enjoy a little NBA conversation, focusing on the people that we love the most.
Yes.
And then we're going to get into the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh.
What's up with these dudes?
Yeah.
And we're going to also get into Major League Baseball in general. And then we're going to get into a little socioeconomic, a little social commentary from Jimmy and I. We're going to talk about some things a little heavier than your average sports show. But that's what we do, right, Jimmy?
It's what we do. It's what we need to do.
It's what we need to do. We need to talk about the big issues of the day. So we're going to try to tackle all of that with you guys today. We're going to have some fun doing it. And as always, this isn't your average show. We're not the guys that talk for 20 minutes and then take a 10-minute break.
No.
Jimmy and I, we power through. We go a straight hour and a half for your listening pleasure. All you have to do is hit the pause button every now and then, come right back and hit the play button, pick up right where you left off, and you don't have to worry about 16 minutes worth of commercials.
Right.
And that's exactly what we're going to do in today's show. We're going to power through just for your listening benefit. And so, Jimmy, I always just like to jump into it. And here's what I got. Jimmy texted me this week. We try not to talk too much sports, which is extremely hard for us to do during the week. But Jimmy texted me and he said he wanted to talk about NBA free agency from a salary standpoint.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to jump into it and ask him, Jimmy, give me the lowdown on NBA salaries from the JC perspective.
Okay, so first off, I have no problem with spending other people's money.
I'm with you.
Okay. With that being said, are you kidding me?
Right out the gate.
Are you kidding? I love the game. It is a beautiful game to watch. Jimmy Harden is going to make almost $50 million his final year of that contract. James Harden is an incredible basketball player.
How do you rate him? Top 3, top 5?
He's top 5 for me.
Top 5.
Top 5. Because for me, it's LeBron, Durant, and Steph Curry kind of as your 1A and 1B and number 2A, if you will. So, but this, what have I been saying all year, Vince? The ESPN effect of all of this money, I can't begrudge them because the money's there and the players have such a good union, they get paid.
And it's all guaranteed, people. When we give you those numbers, that means they're going to receive every green dollar.
James Harden can go out next week, get out of his car, shut his hand in the car door, never be able to shoot again. And he's getting almost $250 million.
Absolutely, absolutely. I look at the numbers, Jimmy, I think they're totally ridiculous. But if they're making that much money, that means the owners are absolutely killing it.
Yes. People talk about how Jordan, Bird, and Magic saved the NBA. Because back then, you had teams that truly could not afford to go out and get players.
Right.
They had enough money to field a team, but they were never going to contend. The NBA is the most prudent example of dynasty is everything. When you look at it, I mean, let's go back. Since '98, the last time the Bulls won the championship, how many different teams have won the NBA title in the last 20 years?
Let's see, we've got, starting in 97?
98. 97, 98 was the last year.
So we've got the Lakers, the Bulls, San Antonio.
No, since the last Bulls title, which was 97, 98. Or
Lakers won.
That's what I'm saying, but not the Bulls.
Okay. Lakers, Detroit Pistons, San Antonio Spurs, Dallas Mavericks.
The best of those titles, I think we can all agree.
Absolutely. Miami Heat, Cleveland, Golden State, 20 years, 7? Is that all 7? Did I get them all?
It's 7 or 8.
Did I miss one?
There's got to be one more in there. It's 7 or 8. But either way, what I'm getting at is the reality. These players and owners are making this money, and it's built around dynasties. And these players are making it on teams that don't contend.
You know, when they pass these labor agreements, a lot of times what they're trying to do is uplift the middle-class players. I mean, some of these deals leave the team completely top-heavy.
Yes.
And there's not a lot left over for that, third-tier guy.
Right. And that's the part that I hate to say is killing me, because, again, it's not my money. But what the typical fan needs to realize is when you guys go out and have the mentality of, well, you're just not going to get my dollars, your dollars don't matter. Ticket sales are not what's driving this money. It's $25 billion that ESPN's paying to put it on TV.
Yes.
So, first off, fans, you have little to no impact on decision-making process of any owner. Because whether they sell out or not, that money's coming in.
I tell you what I'd like to do, Jimmy. I wrote some contracts down. I'm going to give you a contract.
Okay.
Player name. And what I want you to do is tell me your initial reaction to hearing the numbers.
Okay.
Okay? All right. A couple players here. Number 1, and this is a recent signing.
Okay.
Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. 1 year, $18 million.
This guy's a 35% shooter, maybe?
He's 40% from the field.
40% from the field, okay. 40% from the field. Not 52.
No.
Not 41 behind the line or anything like that.
No. 30 behind the line. 30 behind the stripe. The three-point line.
The three-point line. So he's your run-of-the-mill 7th player on your team.
Yes, coming off the bench.
Coming off the bench.
He's going to start for the Lakers, though.
He will, yes, but in all reality, I mean, he is. My initial reaction is, why? But then when you sit back and you think about it, because it's there and they have to spend the money.
Yes.
It's the Tiger Woods effect trickling down. It's really what it is. There's this huge pile of money that's built up at the top, and it's all flowing down. Now you're paying insane amounts of money to players that, if you ask your run-of-the-mill fan who Kentavious Pope is, can they tell you?
Absolutely not.
No.
Absolutely not.
No. And he's getting 1 year, $18 million. Vince, let me ask you this.
He's going to make more money in that 1 year than Larry Bird made his whole career.
His whole career. Now, Vincent Wallace, father.
Yes.
How old are your kids again?
22, 19, and 17.
Okay. How many are off the payroll, the Vincent Wallace payroll right now?
I think one's half off.
Half off. Okay. Vince, you come into 18 mil. Let's be honest. This is L.A., so after state income tax, agent, manager fees, you're making 9.
You're at 9, yes, I agree.
Okay, but Vincent Wallace, can Vincent Wallace make it happen on $9 million for the next 40 years?
Vincent Wallace can make it happen on $2 million for the next 40 years. I've already done the math. This is part of my retirement planning here, so I know that's a possibility.
Here's where I'm going with this. Did you see this week Livan Hernandez, former
baseball pitcher,
World Series MVP?
Yes.
Made $53 million in his career, filed for bankruptcy this week.
Wow. $53 million. They just go through it, don't they?
So this is what kills me, because what I will tell you, and you may remember the one of the 30 for 30s, the great 30 for 30s if you're not watching them, but the one about it was just called Broke. They talked about Antoine Walker,
who made over $100 million.
$111 million. Broke.
Yes.
The trend, Vince, what I'm getting at is, are we improving the lives of these NBA players?
For a short period of time.
For a short period of time.
Well, I think now it's a little bit different than Antoine Walker because for the top-level athlete like James Harden, he's got $200 million coming from the league.
Sure.
But he's got another $200 million coming from a shoe contract.
Understood.
So if he manages to spend $400 million, which I'm not saying is impossible.
Right.
I mean, I could probably give it a run if you gave me that kind of money. We're tossing it up, Jimmy.
How many people would be going to college, Vince?
we could fill a whole institution.
Yes.
Okay, but getting back to it though, Antoine Walker definitely went through 111 million, broke to this day, and it's a sad story, and you hear about it all the time. Let me throw another one out here for you. Okay, give me your initial reaction. The New York Knicks signed a player, Tim Hardaway Jr. 4 years, 71 million.
You gave the guy away 3 years ago.
You gave him away for magic beans. That's what you got in return for Tim Hardaway Jr.
And then you brought him back and said, "Here's 71 mil."
Let me give it to
the
you.
Hawks when the Hawks heard that contract, they were like, "Go, go!" But no, you have the opportunity to match. No, I'm good.
Did you see him play?
Yeah,
you think that's worth 71 million? We're gonna let you guys have it over there in New York.
And Vince, Phil Jackson was not part of this decision.
Now I know New York has, just as a franchise, they have an enormous amount of money. They got buckets and buckets and buckets of money. It's one of the luxuries of playing in a big market town like that. But 4 years, 71 million, and you got to take into account the bad contracts that are already sitting on the books. We've talked about it before.
Yes.
We gave 4 years, 72 million to Joakim Noah.
I know.
This is all ridiculous. Who's running this franchise? I was watching a clip for the Planet of the Apes. I want to know what monkey's really running this franchise. Right. Who's at the controls here?
And where are the applications? Because I want to sign up.
Somebody's got to give me this job. I could do this job. I could do a better job than what's being done.
Did you see David Griffin removed himself from the running of that because once he got in there and saw what was going on?
Now, let's be frank. Jimmy and I would take the job because we have absolutely no pride.
None at all.
So we would take that job if you offered us $2.5 million. Absolutely. $1 million apiece, we're good. We'd run the franchise somewhere. We might run it into the ground, but we're going to run it somewhere. It'll probably still be better than what they're doing. We have no pride. We'll do it. But Griffin and Chauncey Billups declined. No, I'm sorry. Chauncey declined the
Cleveland job.
But he declined the Cleveland job. But the New York Knicks, you want to talk about, they have no idea what they're doing.
None at all. And so now you're going to have ownership, you're going to have fan base driving the decision making, and you are literally making purely reactional moves, or you're being proactive solely to make a move. They did not sign Tim Hardaway Jr. with the mindset of, this guy's going to make the team better. They did it with the fans want us to do something. We just got rid of Phil. Let's make it look like we're stepping out there on a limb and finding that diamond in the rough. You see, you had these diamonds, and there was all this poo-poo.
I got these diamonds.
But when you start making moves solely for change's sake, that's not improving. That's the SSDD. Same story, different day. And when you wheel out a guy, so my initial reaction is, are you kidding me? This is a guy that, again, you gave away 3 years ago because you said, at that point you said, we would rather have this handful of sand than Tim Hardaway Jr. How many players, Vince, when they're at their prime, get better 3 years later?
None.
Should I pay that guy more when he's not as good?
It's baffling, Jimmy. It's baffling.
This is, again, but this is the problem of the ESPN effect of the contracts. At some point, will they come down? I don't know, because the owners are making so much money.
You know, sometimes when you look at a decision, you look at the history of the guy that's making the decision. If Mark Cuban made this particular decision, I might have a wait-and-see attitude. I may say he's crazy like a fox.
Right.
The guys running the Knicks, because we've seen bad decision after bad decision, we just say they're crazy.
Right.
And I think the rest of the league looked at that and went, WTF, what's going on here?
I hear you. No,
okay, let me throw another one out.
Give me another one.
I'm going to throw another one at you. Otto Porter, 4 years, $106 million to the Brooklyn Nets.
This one reminds me a lot of the Drew Holiday contract.
For the Pelicans, yeah.
these are guys. They showed flashes of good.
Not flashes of
great. No, flashes of good. And so, again, I think Otto Porter has to wake up every day and say thank you to LeBron and to Steph Curry and to Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant, all these guys that have built the NBA to what it is, because they are merely going, right now, you're paying exorbitant amount of money to players just to be able to present a team to the floor.
Yes.
Not a good team, not a contending team. Because who's Otto Porter making better?
Otto Porter is what Bill Parcells used to call just a guy.
Just a guy.
We're now giving just a guy $106 million. $25 million. I mean, the total value of his contract, I want you to think about this, is more than Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar made combined in their careers.
So based on that, I have to put Otto Porter in the greatest of all time conversation.
If it's based on money, I guess we do.
So one thing that's amazing to me, Vince, is we talk about, again, the Jordans, the Birds, the Magics, the Kareems, Dr. J, another, Moses Malone. These guys they made money.
Yes.
Times,
decent money.
But those guys changed the game.
Yes, they left their footprint in the sand.
I use Joe Johnson and Josh Smith as great examples when they were both in Atlanta. We got two guys making, at the time, they were making like 16 and they were top of the league.
Yes.
How many championships has Atlanta won?
Let me count. Didn't take me long.
Right.
None.
These are all just a bunch of guys that are reaping massive benefit because they're tall and they are athletic. You have to be athletic to play in the NBA.
Yes.
Unless you're Joakim Noah. These are guys that are merely beneficiaries of a truly broken but highly worthwhile system.
It's a very profitable system. Very profitable. And I don't know if it's really broken. I guess to us the money sounds crazy. Now, this brings me to the next person on my list.
Okay.
Kevin Durant.
Okay.
2 years, $53 million.
Highly underpaid.
And he took a $9 million pay cut.
So Steph could get 5 for $200.
And that we can keep Iguodala and Livingston. So highly underpaid. That was the first thought.
Oh, highly underpaid for what you've brought. You just brought a title.
Yes.
Titles almost are invaluable.
Yes.
I mean, because everybody's making money, the title is what it's about. So I would say Kevin Durant is given his little kind of hometown discount.
Should he have to give that up, though? Let me.
That's a good question.
Frame it.
Okay.
Let me frame it. And the reason I say that, and I know there's a lot of talent in Golden State, and you had to give up something, but here's the deal: the way the salary cap structure is in the NBA, you've got millionaires, you've got billionaires. So we're going to sacrifice some of the money for this top-level millionaire who's actually earning his money, so that this billionaire doesn't come out an additional $9 million plus luxury tax.
Right.
Which I guarantee you, $9 million to Kevin Durant and $9 million to the owners of the Golden State Warriors, totally different $9 million. So I'm just saying, should he have to? I know it's kind of inequitable. So I just don't see why Kevin Durant has to sacrifice so this owner doesn't have to give it up.
And because that's the way it is. One, to some degree, it's the whole you don't bite the hand that feeds you. But the NBA Players League bites the hand constantly because, again, I'm with you. I'm one of those that believes all contracts should be incentive laden. You want to make $40 million? Go earn $40 million.
Right.
Here's how you do it. I think of that in the NFL. I think of it that way in baseball. Every sport.
Are you against the guaranteed contract?
To some degree, yeah. I really am.
I think I'm for partially guaranteed.
That's what I think they should have. In my humble opinion, going back to talking about like Antoine Walker and the like, I think that they should have a guaranteed portion, which, based on how long you've been in the league, that's what that is based on. And the incentive money is all deferred, so you cannot go bankrupt. You get the Bobby Bonilla effect.
We're going to give you some annuities. We're going to sell you some annuities here.
But isn't that That would be the reality that, one, it takes the pressure off the owner.
You'd never get it passed, though, because the agents are greedy and they want.
Well, of course, and I get that. That's the problem. Is it used to be the argument. Well, the low end guys aren't making enough to do that. Now they are. Otto Porter,
4 years, $106 million.
Drew Holiday's getting 5 for $125.
Yeah. Gordon Hayward, 4 for $128.
Yeah. Blake Griffin. I don't doubt the talent of Blake Griffin when he's healthy.
But how often is he healthy?
I was about to say,
playoffs?
Tell me when he's going to next be on the court. You can't even tell me come September that the guy's going to be on the court. So these guys that are getting $25, $30, $35 million a year, at some point, do the players become so greedy that they then begin the disparaging or diversion? We are no longer going to come together to agree, and it splits the league up. That's my fear.
Now, I think what you're saying is, will there become a class system within the players?
Yes.
As far as top level and bottom level and mid level, and all of them are now at war, and we can't come to one.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. You can't come to an agreement on what the overall team has to make, because now you've got James Harden. James Harden's got $400 million coming to him, right?
Yes.
Okay, so at $400 million, doesn't James Harden, now that first half is guaranteed, so say he just decides tomorrow, I'm hurt, quote unquote. I don't need the $200 million from the shoe contract. You want me to play? I've already got $250 million coming to me. What are you going to do that entices me to want to play?
Well, I think eventually the money's going to get so ridiculous that it's going to have to be scaled back. I think we talked about this once before. That happened in the 90s. If you remember, they felt like they had to scale back the maximum contracts, still keep the hard cap, start a hard cap. So I think eventually we have to go to that because, like I say, this money, we're talking Otto Porter.
I know.
We're talking Otto Porter. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope makes more just about than Aaron Rodgers. This is a crazy world.
And that's what I was going to say. When you look at this world, we had I didn't see who it was, but an NFL player came out this week on a Twitter rant talking about how the NFL, the players don't make enough. Tom Brady's a bad example because he chooses to make little money. But Aaron Rodgers, is it fair to say Aaron Rodgers deserves to make more money than Otto Porter?
I would think so. I'd be willing to say yes.
Okay, in all of team sports here in the United States, of all of them, what is the most important position when weighing every one of them? Why is it that a third tier wing, if you will, is getting paid more, significantly more, than a top 3 quarterback in the NFL?
It just tells you how much money the NBA is making these days.
And it
tells you that. But also, you only have 12 players on the roster for an NBA franchise, and you got 53 on an NFL.
At what point do we start seeing expansion, Vince?
Well, when you think about it, the NFL makes more than the NBA when it comes to television rights.
Yes.
They've got their own network, which is also pulling in. I mean, it's reaping so much money, it's utterly ridiculous. So they have a hard cap, though, which means if you look at it from the right standpoint, the problem with the NFL is not the players, it's the Players Association. Their association obviously is folding in meetings prior to getting theirs guaranteed.
Right.
So they're failing them. And the NBA and the Major League Baseball, their Players Association has pretty much handled their business a lot better.
Right.
Okay, hold on. Before we go too far down that rabbit hole, I got one more for you.
Okay.
Throw this contract out, and I want to hear your initial response. Dirk Nowitzki, 2 years, $10 million.
Greatest contract of all time.
Greatest contract of all time.
And okay, Dirk Nowitzki is nothing like Dirk Nowitzki of 2011.
Right.
Or 2007. MVP.
I wouldn't say nothing.
Well, okay. No. Okay, Dirk Nowitzki of 2007. MVP. Okay.
He's about 55% of that.
Okay. When you look back at the decisions Dirk has made contract-wise, one thing that a lot of people don't realize, Dirk has never had an agent. Dirk goes into Cuban's office, basically says, what do you think is fair to pay me? And he's taken it every time. There's been from my understanding, 3 contract positionings that Dirk has basically left $73 million on the table in his career.
It's crazy.
Now, Dirk, if he had those $73 million, would be the highest paid player in the history of the NBA, I believe, because he would pass Shaq. And Dirk's played 20 years, or this is his 20th season at a high level. So I have no problem with the amount that Dirk has made. Dirk now looks at it going, I can't make $25 million and us have the flexibility to not be a rebuilding team, truly rebuilding. Even though Cuban came out this week and even said we're a rebuilding team. We wouldn't be if we were in the East. And we'll talk more about that as we talk specifically Mavs. But Dirk said, what can I play for? Because I guarantee you, Dirk looks at it and goes, I got enough money.
Dirk's pretty much playing for free, people.
Yeah.
Let's be frank. When you talk about a guy that's worth as much as him, to play for $5 million when you got guys like Otto Porter playing for $25, Dirk's pretty much saying, I'm willing to play because I love the game.
Exactly.
This is saying something about Dirk more than it does about Cuban. Because on the positive side, it says a lot about Dirk.
No doubt.
On the negative side, it really says a lot about Donnie and Cubes in the fact that they haven't been able to attract free agents, that they haven't been able to surround them with talent for the last 6 years.
Right.
It says a lot towards them because the man has been flexible to the tune of $73 million left on the table.
And could have gone other places and probably won another title.
Definitely so. And that's what guys these days are doing. They're teaming up. They're making super friend teams.
Oh, I think 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, Dirk goes to Oklahoma City with Durant and Westbrook. Steven Adams. Or at the end of Harden's time.
Who cares? It's a championship regardless.
That's the thing. There's another title.
You and I in those two positions, Jimmy.
And that's Dirk hopping on a plane in Addison and being in Oklahoma City in an hour.
Right.
That's not a problem. That's Dallas 5 o'clock traffic. So Dirk has been one of the few athletes, and it helps that he's, you and I both agree, kind of top 5 favorite athletes of all time.
Yes, he's on the Mount Rushmore of Dallas athletes.
Oh, yeah.
We'll have to go over that. Did we already do that?
We already did that.
Okay, we did that?
Yeah. But with that being said, someone that's willing to continue to be that flexible, because, again, in the NBA, there's so much money available. Someone would pay Dirk $25 million for the next 2 years at the level he plays right now.
Oh, absolutely. $25 million per, maybe more. Because if he's willing to take a short-term deal, like 2 years.
With a team option or something like that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And and it would be money well spent for what he would give you.
Sure.
If it were just from the leadership coming into the game, averaging 12 points a game, but bringing his leadership quality, also being able to teach the younger players, because Dirk's a gym rat, how you need to practice in order to be good. Just from that standpoint alone, he's worth $25 million.
And yet he took 2 years, $10 million total.
You can't help but love the guy.
You can't.
This is another example of why he belongs on the Mount Rushmore. And I do hate the fact that Cuban and Donnie have squandered the last 6 years of this man's legacy because he deserved better.
No doubt. No doubt.
And I'm not saying it's from lack of effort, because I do believe Cube does everything he can to try to win.
Sure.
But I'm sorry, we're in a results-oriented business. When it's all said and done, it doesn't matter how much or how hard you tried. It's what did you put out there on the floor to help you win, and did he play with enough? No, he did not. That's Donnie's job.
Right.
That's Donnie's job. And if you ask me, there have been draft picks that we've given away that shouldn't have been given away.
Rondo. Thank you, Rondo.
Thank you, Rondo. Absolutely. There have been players in the Rondo trade we gave away, the power forward.
Jay Crowder.
There have been players we've let leave that we shouldn't have let leave. We had a championship team, and he didn't re-sign players like Jason Terry. He let Jay Kidd go ahead and retire. He didn't bring back the championship team, great center in Tyson Chandler. I don't know if that was the best business decision, but I can tell you this, as a fan, coming in with the same team that would have just left, I would have felt great about our chances of repeating. Because we just beat LeBron, and we would have been playing him again in 2012.
Right. And, you know, again, Before we get into a deep Mavs discussion, I did want to talk to you just a couple things about maneuvers that have happened in the offseason.
For the Mavs?
No.
Okay.
We got some other things I want, like I said, I just want to make sure we cover. With the moves Boston has made, even letting Avery Bradley go.
Yes,
Avery Bradley. Yeah, okay. Bradley Beal plays for Washington. I was thinking I got it confused.
You're getting old, Jim.
Yeah, but you let Avery Bradley go. But with the moves they've made, is Cleveland scared?
If they're not, they should be. Because I'm going to tell you a couple of things that I've seen. Because I watch Summer League basketball because I have no life.
Right.
And Jason Tatum is everything I thought he would be.
Incredible.
This guy is the second coming of Paul Pierce, with maybe a little bit more athleticism.
I was about to say, can also run the floor better and jump better.
He's the second coming of Paul Pierce. I think he's going to be a phenomenal player in this league, and I think Jaylen Brown is going to be the most improved player in the NBA. Now, he may not score as many points as the person who wins the award.
Sure.
But just if you're a basketball person, I'm telling you, this guy has talent, and we're about to see it. This is why Avery Bradley, they're comfortable letting him go.
Right.
Because Jaylen Brown's about to come in, and he's about to wreck some shop. Then you add Gordon Hayward. They've already got a sniper in Isaiah Thomas, which we were talking about as a top 15 player in the league not too long ago. So I'm telling you, if you are Cleveland, understand, Boston got not just a little better. They got significantly better, and they got younger.
Right.
And LeBron James, who is not getting any younger, he needs to look at that squad and say, I probably have about 2 years of dominance max. I'm hoping I can compete and get those 2 years wrapped up before these guys get to where they're going.
Dude, I see Boston becoming not the 80s Boston that we saw, but if they can keep this kind of thing together, athletic and young wins championships. And
absolutely.
That thing they're putting together, now, and again, adding Gordon Hayward to just rain from the outside, that team looks fantastic.
And think about it. Not only did they get Tatum, but they also have another number one pick that's coming over.
That's the crazy thing.
Yeah, it's coming over from Philadelphia. So this thing isn't where it's going to be. It's going to get better in the next 2 years.
And what's crazy, and I know it could easily be nothing, but the little signs, Fultz out the rest of the summer league with that ankle issue. You never want to be the guy that gets hurt all the time.
And Philadelphia's had a run of guys getting hurt. Embiid, you had Simmons. I mean, they're kind of snake-bitten that way.
Yeah.
I don't get too alarmed by summer league injuries because if you get an ingrown toenail, you're going to be held out of a summer league game. I mean, that's just how they are. They don't want to damage the hot commodity. So I understand that, but I'm with you. Philadelphia's kind of snake-bitten that way.
I know. It's unbelievable that it just keeps happening to them.
Yeah.
So, but the maneuvers that have happened so far in the NBA it's been, to me, one of the most revealing off seasons that we've had in a while. Contracts are always going to be this outlandish. We could have this conversation every year because you know what this all points back to me for? Freaking the former Mav, Tyson, or what's his name? Went to Memphis. No.
Went to Memphis? How long ago?
Just this past year. The one that he's hurt all the time, the white guy that used to play here. Came from Houston. He was the reason that DeAndre Jordan was going to come here and
Jim, we're getting old.
I know.
He used to play in Houston. He plays the 3 spot.
Yes.
I thought we overpaid him as well. He spent 2 years here. He was going to recruit in DeAndre Jordan. I'll remember it by the end of the show.
Okay. But you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
These are guys just that benefit from the massive amounts of money that just the NBA probably doesn't have enough buckets to catch all of it. That's the thing about this. I don't begrudge, as we always say, Vince, you never knock somebody's hustle.
Never knock.
The NBA has done a great job positioning itself as a massively profitable machine. We just have to live in a world where Otto Porter gets $25 million a year.
That's so crazy.
And at the end of this season, Vince, I'm curious as to how many times we will have brought up Otto Porter's name in the conversation of, hey, did you see Otto Porter last night?
I can go ahead and answer that for you.
That's zero. Zero times.
So, NBA
Tyson
contracts.
Chandler?
No. You're not even close. Tyson Chandler was the center.
The center, yeah. His name's Tyson. No, Chandler Parsons.
Chandler Parsons.
I knew that.
It was Chandler or it was Tyson.
Sorry.
His name's Tyson. Okay,
Yeah.
his name's Chandler. Chandler Parsons.
And the crazy thing is I think owners and GMs just go, well, you're going to have 2 of those a year on every team.
And there's nothing you can do about it. And as long as we're segueing into it, did you have any more points on the salaries?
No.
Okay, let's go ahead and move into Mavs. How are we doing for time over there, Jimmy?
Let's take a look.
I left my phone on the other side.
We've got 50 minutes, so let's spend the next 20 on...
Let's go 20 with the Mavs?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so talking Mavs. I'm excited, Jimmy.
You've been watching the Summer League games too, haven't you?
I have no life, Jimmy. So I'm watching this guy who I wanted the Mavs to draft. I don't know. We didn't have a show prior to, but you know yourself. This is who I wanted the Mavs to draft. Dennis Smith Jr. was one of the top 4 players, and I was hoping that he was going to drop down to us. I had Dennis Smith Jr., Fultz, Tatum, and Lonzo Ball as my top 4 players.
Right.
And I was hoping we would get one of them. And we got Dennis Smith Jr., who is the most athletically gifted player in the draft. The guy can get to the rim whenever he wants.
Yes.
If he ever develops a consistent three-point shot,
look out.
I will tell you he will be a top 5 player in the NBA. This guy is phenomenal. Can we already go ahead and say ROY Rookie of the Year?
Dude, I don't see, this is what we do in the sports conversation world now. We have to make these
bold predictions.
Yeah, bold predictions.
And mine are bold.
Yes.
Rookie of the Year.
But I don't see why not. 48-inch vertical on this kid.
Yes.
And he
jumps just a little bit higher than Jimmy.
Little bit.
Just
about 47 inches higher than I do. So when you watch this kid not only come down the court talking noise to the other players, asking for the best player to guard him.
He knows how good he is. He's not afraid of success. I heard the guy talk on draft night. I mean, he's such a well-spoken young man.
Yes.
I was thoroughly impressed. I'm just as impressed with him as a young man as I am with his game. And the guy has game. And the one knock on him was that, he's not going to be a very good defensive player.
Yeah.
That's BS. I'm watching Summer League, guys, and I'm telling you, the guy has been active defensively. And I'll give you something else. And this is why I know he's going to be a good defensive player. I got 2 words for you. Rick Carlisle. That's why he's going to be a good defensive player.
Let me ask you this, Vince. When is the last time you saw Rick Carlisle happy and excited about a young player?
That would be never.
Rick Carlisle cannot stand the braggadocio of the young player because very, very rarely can they back it up. And even more, very, very rarely can they suppress that attitude to fit into his systems, which is be-all, end-all. You will be part of my system or you will not play.
Here's the one concern I have, Jimmy, though, is that Dennis Smith Jr. is so good. Cuban used the word rebuild. I don't know if with this kid you can lose enough games to be in rebuild mode.
I know, and that's the thing. For those of you who didn't hear, Cuban got on the mic during Summer League last week and was talking to the announcers in regard to just what expectations look like, and even mentioned, yes, we're in rebuild mode. We wouldn't be if we were in the East.
Right.
We have a huge discrepancy between talent in the West and the East. We've seen this we went through the list of teams that have won since the Bulls. 3 teams out of the East: Miami, Boston, Cleveland.
Boston, Cleveland, Detroit.
That's right. Okay, 4. You've had 4 of those titles, and all of those teams. No, Miami has 2. Miami got 2 with LeBron, and then
with LeBron again.
That's right. And then in 06. Hated 06. Sorry. But the West is kind of like the NFC from 80 to 97. I mean, that's really what...
Right. The NFC was dominant.
Just unbelievably dominant.
Jim Kelly and John Elway.
Right. And so you have this massive amount of talent that can't win in the West versus this significant lack of talent in the East. Cuban, most people don't realize, Cuban presses at Silver or whoever the commissioner is, it was Stern before, presses for realignment every year. He would love to see the Mavs in the East.
It cycles, so I'm not a big proponent of realignment. I do recognize the issue, though, because not only this year, I think the West won like 58% of the games last year, and it may be an even bigger disparity this year because we had talent flow from the East to the West.
Right.
And so, I hate to say it, but the only two teams in the East are Cleveland and Boston.
Yeah.
And the West has about 5 or 6. Our knocking on the door playoff teams would probably be home court advantage in the East.
Oh, yeah. Your Denver, Denver's made some solid moves in this offseason. And
your Mavericks. I can't underestimate how good this guy, Dennis Smith Jr. is.
When you evaluate what the Mavs might look like in 2 to 3 years, we've gotten very, very used to a specific type of basketball here with the Mavs. Is it fair to say that?
Yes.
It's been Dirk.
We've been used to playoff winning basketball.
Right. Well, fair enough.
That's why I'm ticked at Donnie right now for the last 6 years.
I think behind the leadership that will develop of Dennis Smith Jr., if we can get another year where we get a lottery pick and we draft well, in 5 years, I bet you're looking at a team that people are talking about how athletic they are, how they get to the rim, a type of basketball we haven't seen in Dallas in a long time. The aggressive rebounding, shot blocking, hardcore defensive teams.
Well, let's talk about our starting lineup now.
Okay.
Okay. We've got Dennis Smith Jr.
Yes.
We've got Wesley Matthews.
Yes.
Harrison Barnes.
Okay.
Dirk, Nerlens Noel. If we re-sign Nerlens, which
seems like a foregone conclusion, but
I don't know anymore. I don't know. I think a lot of the money's being dried up, and I think going into this, I think Cubans actually played this right. I know I'm sidetracking here, but that's because going into it, I think the thought process was Nerlens was going to take $20 to $25 million to get his name on the dotted line per year. He was going to get an Otto Porter deal. Now that's how we're going to be using Otto Porter going forward. He was going to get an Otto Porter. And I think the market for Nerlens, because he's injury prone, has been a lot drier than what Nerlens expected.
No doubt.
And I think now we're looking at under 18 definitely.
Yeah.
And so if we're under 18, I think he becomes a value in that 15 to 18. And Cuban's playing this right. We'll see how those numbers end up looking. But I don't hear any suitors knocking down that door. There's nothing in the rumor mill right now.
No, it's why I still think you have to balance that very well, because if the value dips too much, you'll have every team coming at him, and then a bidding war does ramp that price back up.
Right.
Which is why I think 5 years, 110 is what he's going to end up looking at. I really do, because it's going to be back end loaded.
Do you put him on a 5 year? My question is,
I don't want to.
I don't think you go 5 with Nerlens. The knees are too bad. The legs are too bad. I think the most you can go with Nerlens is 4 years.
Okay, so then you get, what, 4 for 90?
I would think 4 for. I think he's
looking at 4 for 75, don't you?
I think you're looking at a Hardaway Jr. 4 for 71, 4 for 71, 4 for 70 something. I think you're looking at. I think it was 4 for 100, 110. Right now, I think you're coming down off of that. But my point was, though, we've got Dennis Smith Jr. We've got Wesley Matthews, Harrison Barnes, Dirk, and Nerlens. The future of this team, people, is Dennis Smith Jr. and Harrison Barnes and potentially Nerlens Noel. Why are we hanging on to Wesley right now?
I have no clue.
I would think in this league, $18 million, he's pretty much a good, valuable trade chip.
Clearly, we're seeing that. Yeah, you can get something of value for Wesley Matthews, because you still have Seth Curry and you have Yogi.
And Seth plays the same position. He's a decent shooter.
Yes.
I think you lose a little bit of defensive grittiness when Wesley goes, but you can find those type guys, and you don't have to pay $18 million a season to get it.
Yeah.
So I know he's lost a little athleticism since he tore his Achilles, but for the most part, let's be honest, He's not a part of the future here.
No, not at all.
And if you're not what do they say? If you're not a part of the solution,
you're a part of the problem.
You're a part of the problem. And I hate to say it because I think Wesley Matthews is a good dude, but at this point I have to look at him and go, you're kind of a part of the problem.
And especially since Dirk is freeing up so much money, you have the flexibility if you need to overpay for a younger, more athletic player, you can do that.
Where's this money going, by the way? Because if Dirk gave it up, most teams can sign up to 3 max deals, right?
Yes.
We only got 1 in Harrison Barnes. Mm-hmm. Where's our money going?
I don't know. I didn't get any of it.
I didn't get any of it either. And I checked up under my pillow this morning.
Yeah. Trust me, I checked the bank account. When you only have 2 numbers in front of the decimal, that's good, right? Or is that bad? It's one of the two.
As long as there's not a negative
sign
in front of all the numbers,
right,
you're usually okay.
So that's a great question. I don't know what our contract situation is. Where is the money tied up? Or, it used to be the famous line.
Yogi.
Well, yeah, it used to be the famous line from Cuban about we're keeping the powder dry.
Yeah.
We got a lot of powder now.
So if Dirk is making this sacrifice,
right?
I'm just wondering where is the money being spent? Because I know it's not being spent on Curry. I know it's not being spent on Dennis Smith Jr.
Right.
Wesley Matthews has in today's NBA a reasonable deal.
Right. Nerlens is going to get some of it. I think that's a big part of it.
Well, if you can get him in that $15 to $18 million range, now you have enough to sign another max player.
Right.
So who are we looking at here?
That's a great question.
I
say we sign LeBron.
I say we sign LeBron too. What's the hold up, LeBron? Dallas is a wonderful city, right?
We got the cash. You're a Cowboy fan. Come on.
What are you waiting on?
Romo's got an extra bedroom. You can crash.
I got an extra bedroom.
Kids, Daddy's got some things we got to take care of. Y'all get out.
Got to make some sacrifices.
Yeah. Dirk did it. So can you.
But all I'm saying is I'd like to see the Mavs do a little bit more in free agency.
Yeah.
Keeping your powder dry. That's been a rallying cry around here for 5 years.
Yeah.
What are we keeping it dry for?
At some point, I got to shoot the gun.
Even if you miss, shoot the freaking gun.
Yes.
At some point, you become gun shy, right?
Because as we as fans, what was I talking about in New York? At some point, I need to see you're doing something. Making change for change's sake very rarely works. But if you're never going to do anything,
well, you've got Dennis Smith Jr., who will be a top 5 player in this league, locked up for 4 years. That means, since he's on his rookie deal, you can bring somebody in here on a great deal for 3 years.
Right.
3 years, $80 million. You can bring in another player like that.
Who can we find for 3 for 80 to 85?
I can get in shape, Jimmy. I can do it. I promise you.
You take the elevator down 1 flight of stairs when we leave here every day. You take the elevator.
Wait a minute, Drew. Wait a minute, Jimmy. Wait a minute. That's all true.
That's 100% true.
I wish I could tell you it wasn't, people. That's 100% true. But I said after I got in shape, Jimmy. So, give me a week.
So I think that's something those of you watching, if you got ideas, put them in the comments. Let's see what we can. Maybe we need to shoot an email. Cuban answers emails.
That's what he does. Well, maybe we should ask him. Where's the money going?
Where's the money, Cubes?
Where's the money?
Straight cash, straight cash. Cuban's got a big old thing like Walter White. He's got a storage unit.
just hide it out from the fans, man. We need to see that money being spent. Okay. Now, are we going power through? We're power through?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, let's go. We're talking Dallas sports. Let's move Dallas Cowboys.
Okay.
Okay. Now, let's set this up for you, Jimmy. I hear all the time Jason Garrett talk about the right kind of guy. I hear it all the time. When I first started hearing it, it made all the sense to me in the world. I was like, you know what? We do need the right kind of guy. Then they went out and signed Greg Hardy.
Right.
And so I was wondering.
Who is playing 4th league in West Virginia right now.
Right.
Sleeping in a Quality Inn.
So this is my question for you, Jimmy. We've been hearing this right kind of guy, but we haven't seen this right kind of guy.
No, you haven't.
What kind of guy are you seeing, Jimmy?
Okay. To use the parlance of our times, you're seeing the thug. You're seeing the misogynist, domestic violence piece of crap. And for those, again, who haven't listened before, we know I am not a Cowboy fan. I'm a Redskins fan.
He's a hater, people.
Yeah. But what I do, I like a league where the Cowboys are good. because I think the overall league is good. I hate the Yankees.
I don't believe that in the least, you all. I like a league where the Cowboys are good.
Because when the Redskins beat them, that means they're better. So, yeah. Yeah, Santana Moss, Thanksgiving Day.
I think Jimmy wants us going 0-16 every year.
That would be amazing.
I don't buy that you want the Cowboys.
But here's the thing. There is no more highly reported upon team than the Dallas Cowboys.
Absolutely.
Now, is some of that self-serving? I think so. They put themselves in a lot of these situations. The right type of guy is the guy that comes. The right type of guy is a Dirk. If you could get football players or any athlete like a Dirk Nowitzki that comes in and hits the gym on his own, not being told.
Well, and from a football standpoint, the right type of guy is Dak Prescott.
Yes.
From what I understand, Dak Prescott's a stand-up guy. I mean, he's always working out. He's doing what he needs to do to make the team better.
Right. You are getting your Greg Hardys, your Randy Gregorys, your not Anthony Spencer, Rolando McClain, David Irvin, Rolando McClain. The guy who was the guy just this past week?
Damien Wilson.
The guy pulls a rifle because somebody won't let him park in a spot.
Well, the Damien Wilson story is kind of a crazy story.
I don't disagree.
And for those that aren't acquainted, Damien Wilson was at a soccer game and he backed his truck into a woman. I'm assuming, now the reports are that he backed his truck into the woman. I'm assuming that he hit her vehicle. I would not like to think that he just decided to
he moved his vehicle into her. They were tailgating, and he wanted the parking spot that they were tailgating in, as I understand the story. And he did it slowly. She had no injuries, but he did it slowly. But
she wouldn't move.
She would not move.
Okay.
And then when he nudges her, that starts a scene with a gentleman that's with her, and then he flashes a rifle.
And when it comes to a lot of things, when I hear the right type of guy, I hear guys that make smart decisions.
Right.
What I don't see on the Dallas Cowboys are a lot of guys making smart decisions.
Right.
And the Damien Wilsons of the world, Damien Wilson, that was a horrible decision.
Right.
Because you have to understand where you stand and what you stand to lose.
Right.
By doing this type of thing. I was utterly stunned, and that's what gets me. And I'm not a professional athlete, but I would like to believe if you gave me millions and millions of dollars, I'm not going to squander it away with a road rage incident because I wanted a parking spot.
Right.
I'm not going to throw this away. That's what gets me about these guys. Now, I'm not going to call anybody an alcoholic, a drunk, because I imbibe every now and then myself. But I'm not going to call anyone because I don't know them personally. But what I can tell you is when I hear a dumb decision, I know what that sounds like.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a dumb decision. I look at the Randy Gregorys of the world. Randy Gregory was suspended for this upcoming season after being suspended last season for smoking marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'll tell you, in my opinion, it's a dumb decision. And the reason I say that, and trust me, people, I have friends that like to indulge in a little bit of the green. But they all tell me to a man, if there were millions of dollars on the line, hey, I'm talking about people who have cleaned themselves up for a $40,000 a year job.
Right.
They do it for 40. So they have no sympathy for this guy who doesn't do it for millions.
Right.
And you have to understand, when you get suspended by the league, I'm going to give you some numbers here. First suspension, all they do is put you in the drug rehabilitation program. Second suspension is just a 2-game fine, not a suspension. Third suspension, that's a 4-game fine, not a suspension. Fifth suspension, I'm sorry, where was I at? Fourth suspension, 4-game suspension, finally. Fifth time they catch you, 10-game suspension. Sixth suspension is when you're locked out for the season. So this guy had to test positive 6 times, people. 6 times. What in the world are you thinking to give away that kind of money when you're that talented? And I look at guys like Tyrann Mathieu in Arizona, who just stopped. He's like, well, I'm not sacrificing my $80 million.
Right.
Let me make this money.
Right.
You're willing to give it all up
on principle
over the marijuana?
Right.
Really? Now, don't get me wrong. I personally don't believe it should be illegal in the NFL.
I agree. I don't smoke it, but I don't have a problem with it.
Right. I don't have a problem. I don't think it's any worse than alcohol or anything else out there. But if they say you can't do this and it's going to jeopardize your multi-million-dollar contract if you do, this is what you have in place for your family. There's this thing that I like to talk about, which is the reason why. I don't go to work because I love it. I don't really care much for my job. Not this one. I love talking here to sports with you guys. But my day job.
Right.
I don't do it because I love it. I do that job. My reason why I go to work is for my family to be able to provide. Now, when you're sacrificing your ability to provide for your family because of this, because the job is just the job, we as fans love the job that they do, but to them, this is their job. This is their employment. So for him to sacrifice that, he's really sacrificing the needs of his family so that he could get high.
Right.
That's crazy to me.
And
when I know guys that for $30,000 a year, they stay off the ganja.
Vince, we've worked for companies where they have layoffs, right?
Yes.
We've worked for companies that go through ups and downs just like every other company does. When that happens, they do layoffs. And the reason is, while a company needs their workforce, they don't need me specifically.
Right.
The NFL does not need Randy Gregory.
No.
But Randy Gregory sure as hell needs the NFL. Because I don't know Randy Gregory, but I'm going to bet he hasn't focused on much as far as talent development in any other fields since he learned he was good at football.
I'm at a loss, Jimmy.
And so when you talk about providing for the family, what's the next step? If you can't play football, so you gave up games last year, which was millions of dollars, all of this year, which is millions of dollars. Now, what does that do next year? Because what do we know about other teams when it comes to character? Most other teams will not deal with a character trait like this, correct?
You are absolutely correct. They don't want the risk.
They don't want the risk because it's wasting resources. It's wasting locker room chemistry. That's the other. This kind of stuff, when you start signing player after player that does this kind of thing, your good players start looking at it going, this is not the kind of, one, this isn't the organization I thought it was, and two, this is not the kind of place I want to be around. They can get money anywhere.
I need to be able to depend that you're going to be there.
Right.
Dependability in football matters. The greatest ability in football is availability.
Oh.
If you're not available, it doesn't matter how good you are. Ask Josh Gordon in Cleveland.
Oh.
How he's appreciated in that locker room. Enough for
immensely
them to cut
talented.
Oh, probably if he suited up right now, the guy's probably a top 5 receiver in the NFL.
No doubt.
And he hasn't played really since 2014.
Right.
That's how good Josh Gordon is. But he can't stay off the ganja.
Right. Or some guys that can't help it, and that's unfortunate as well. Greg Oden that dude was picked to be he was picked ahead of Durant.
Picked ahead of Durant.
And the guy he played 82 games, I believe, total in his 4 seasons with 3 or 4 teams. Because his knees, he couldn't do it. Right. Now, we all question his age because Greg Oden looked about 65 in college.
He looked 5 years older than I did.
Yeah.
Coming out of high school.
But this is a guy that it does not matter the college stats that you have. It does not matter the potential you have. If I can't put you on the field, you mean nothing to me. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean it as I can't use you. Companies will look at people that call in sick all the time. If you are not here, how are you going to do the things that make you money, which means it makes me money?
In every job that I've ever had, if I can't show up for work, I'm not going to be working there very long.
And when they do have to start making cuts, guess who the first people they start looking at are?
Absolutely.
Well, Vince isn't here much anyway. Why not just go ahead and let him go? He'll figure out that he doesn't work here anymore.
He'll figure it out. And then we had Nolan Carroll. He was a couple of weeks back.
Yep.
He got a DWI. He was driving on the wrong side of the road. Now, don't get me wrong, people, because if this is a one-off and it sounds like he shouldn't have got behind the wheel, he made a very bad decision, I'm not going to kill a man for a one-off, okay? Because I've never known him to have this kind of issue before.
Fair enough.
But what I will say is this. You make millions of dollars. Uber is not very expensive.
Jerry provides a limousine service.
There's no reason for Nolan Carroll to have a DWI. Now, I'm going to knock him. I'm not going to knock him because there have been times you might leave a bar and you feel as though you're great, but the test says something else, and that may be the case. But once again, you have too much to lose. You're not Jimmy Clark. Jimmy Clark has nothing to lose.
I live for nothing.
So if you have that type of situation going on, why are you taking that particular type of risk? You always have to weigh. I just finished telling my daughter this. You always have to weigh risk versus reward. The reward is, I got home okay. What's the risk?
I kill other people. Maybe myself.
Risk versus reward in this equation pretty much says that's a dumb decision, especially for a guy with $1 million who pretty much can get an Uber, get a limousine, call Jimmy Clark to come pick him up for a good $50.
Right.
He'd do it in a heartbeat.
Josh Brent lost his best friend.
Yes.
It's fair to say Josh Brent killed his best friend.
Yes.
Because of a bad decision. That there were other options available. Who was the Cowboys? He was either a defensive back or wide receiver, drove the BMW. People were on the side of the road changing a flat tire. And
he was a second-round pick.
Yeah, he was in Las Colinas.
He was out of Tennessee.
Yep.
His name was... Come back to me, Jim.
Yeah, but again, it's one thing if it's one-offs. But this team has 15 examples.
Well, the problem is the culture. Because every time somebody gets in trouble, I hear Stephen Jones say, everybody makes mistakes. Well, you keep letting them make 6 mistakes.
Right.
And you say, we still want them on the team. No. Somebody's got to step up and say, 6 mistakes is a little much.
Right.
Let's have an action here to show somebody else on the team that this type of behavior won't be tolerated. I'm okay with 1 or 2. I'll even give you 2. I'll give you 2 because if you have an issue, you have a problem, let's get the right counseling for you. Let's get the right things in place so that you don't repeat these mistakes. 6 times and you're still saying everyone makes mistakes?
No.
You're creating a virus in your locker room that the coach cannot control.
Right. And here's the thing. At some point, those things that you do hold as a commodity will move on. Is it fair to say Jason Garrett could probably coach 15 other teams in this league?
Yes.
Even though coach for the Dallas Cowboys is the most prestigious job in the NFL, I think it's arguably that.
Yes.
If he moved on at some point, he might start going, I want to coach the right type of guys, and it's not here.
And don't get me wrong,
he has no authority.
Issues.
They do, but Jason Garrett has no authority to discipline players. I mean, it's said that he does, but when's the last time we've heard of Jason Garrett disciplining anyone? That starts with Jerry. We know that goes to Jerry.
I wonder if Jason Garrett disciplines his own children.
Yeah.
But Jerry might stop in, knock on his door, and be like, leave that kid alone.
Right, right. At some point, as you say, you got to cure the virus. And the way to do that is to accept that sometimes bad people are bad.
Right.
It's a poor investment. Cut your losses. I know it's hard to do because it's people, but we do it with contracts all the time.
And these are non-guaranteed contracts,
right.
So this can be done.
Oh, what is it? It hits your cap a little bit? So be it. I mean, these guys have math guys that can work the magic out of the numbers to keep them under the cap.
Absolutely.
So, the Dallas Cowboys, while again they are great for the NFL as a franchise, just listed yesterday again by Forbes as the most valuable franchise in the world,
and deservedly so.
Oh, by the way, I believe Otto will make enough money to have bought half of the Dallas Cowboys when Jerry did.
Otto Porter. We're gonna have Otto Porter jokes going forward, man.
So
they gave him that was actually a boon for us. So we shouldn't knock it, but we're going to. Right. How are we doing for time?
We need to spend I want to spend a few minutes on the Mavs on the Rangers before we.
What time is it now?
It's 9:40.
9:40.
Yeah.
That fast?
I know.
Good God. Okay, let's go Rangers. Let's jump into it. Rangers.
So you'd notice that I'm not, for the first time in doing this show, I'm not wearing my Rangers jersey. I'm not wearing a Rangers cap.
And what's the reason for this, Jimmy?
It's over. And let me tell you why. John Daniels, now, he basically said, not only are we not going to sell, we're probably going to be buyers.
That's what I heard. That's the rumor.
Folks, let me tell you something about when you can't accept the reality of your own world. That is called being crazy. I have stood behind John Daniels on every trade that he's done, even the Soriano trade, which was horrendous. But John Daniels has brought me 2 real opportunities to win a World Series.
Yes.
I'm afraid, I'm not going to say his time should be up. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that. Let me finish.
Oh, my God.
But, folks, this is becoming a mockery of evaluating and developing talent. And because of that, until I notice that the Rangers are actually trying to do something positive going forward instead of chasing this pipe dream, I shall not wear my jersey again.
Oh, my goodness. We're taking a stand against John Daniels and the Rangers? What are we talking about here, Jimmy? Let's put things in perspective. Jimmy has jumped off the cliff, you guys. Let's put things in perspective for Mr. Clark. Number 1, at the beginning of this season, if you ask me what general manager in Dallas-Fort Worth do I trust the most, I would have told you John Daniels.
I don't disagree.
And that was 3 months ago. And after 3 months, we're sitting here saying we went from in JD I trust to this guy's an idiot, he needs to move on.
I'm not saying that.
You're close to it.
I'm close to it. I'm close to it. What I'm saying is I need to see something that says this team is trying to do something beneficial for the future versus this. This is a pipe dream, Vince.
You're 3 games out of the wild card. How is this not a possibility? You get a good streak, and that's it. You're right there.
Tell me when and where we're going to see that good streak, Vince.
What is the problem with the Rangers? We talked about it 2 weeks ago. The problem with the Rangers is the bullpen. If he fixed the bullpen, do you see us being able to get the wild card?
No doubt.
So we're just a couple of moves from having that done, and you've already taken off the Ranger jersey? Season's over?
You know what? If we make those moves and I see something positive from that, the jersey will be back on in a heartbeat.
Does everyone understand why I call him the master of doom and gloom? I just want affirmation from everybody out there that watches this. This is why Jimmy gets labeled the master of doom and gloom. He has removed his jersey and his hat, refusing in protest to wear. I'm not sure what he's protesting, but he's protesting.
A lack of viable and beneficial moves.
A lack of viable and beneficial moves when you are 3 games out of the wild card. 3 games. This is not the time. John Daniels knows, we imagine he knows more than Jimmy Clark. I can't be sure that he knows more about Jimmy Clark when it comes to baseball. But I'm going to imagine so.
Okay, we'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
I'm going to take that as a preference for my next statement. Okay, so if John Daniels knows more about it than Jimmy Clark, why do you think, Jimmy Clark, he's decided to be a buyer and not a seller?
Because he thinks that there's going to be this significant upswing in team morale, chemistry. The bullpen's just going to come together because Diekman might come back. I think that he sees that and he wants to keep the spirits up of the team. Man, I get that. That's the hard, delicate balancing act of maintaining such a long season, which is why it's so difficult in baseball.
So if you believe, and I just want to get a definition here, if you believe the Rangers should be sellers, you're saying Darvish then has to go. Because after the season, you're getting nothing for him.
Right.
So if we can get prospects for him now, your belief then is Darvish has to go.
Darvish, Lucroy, Odor, gone.
Odor needs to go? We just signed him. He's a young second baseman that hits for power. He's having a rough season because his average isn't what it has traditionally been. But we have history saying this guy is about a 255 to 265 hitter.
You know what?
Sometimes they press after
then
big contracts.
If you don't
bail.
Okay, if that's the case, then you Kyle Schwarber him and let's send him down for the rest of the year.
Jimmy.
I can throw Pete Kozma out there and play second base.
Jimmy, you want to damage your current one of the youngest guys on your team, your current second baseman that has all the potential in the world because he's hitting close to the Mendoza line.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, because the guy will come up with no outs, 2 men on in scoring position, and he can't lay a bunt down. He has to swing for the fences.
It's the only thing, if you remember, I told you, the only thing about Odor that I concern myself with is the high level of strikeouts. He doesn't make enough contact. But the potential is there. And I'm a fan.
Okay.
And when I see potential, I see hope.
I know. So,
Jimmy is so hopeless when it comes to the Rangers. I'm just stunned by this, man.
And I'm going to watch the game tomorrow against Kansas City.
You going to have your jersey on?
Well, no, I can't. No. No, it doesn't go on until I see moves that make me believe that they're doing what it takes to be a contender.
So if there are no moves, but we go on a 7-game win streak and we're tied for the wild card,
then everybody can just give it to me straight, and I will bow down and say I was wrong.
Okay, we're all waiting on that. I enjoy hearing that. Hey, I'll take that.
So, but I truly believe that day is not going to be coming.
In JD, I trust. I'm not off the ship just yet. I think that there's still potential in this season if we're able to solidify the bullpen. And I think that it's possible that we will. How are we doing for time?
We have 15 minutes, and we have a really good thing that we need to talk about.
Okay, 15 minutes. That was a good 5 minutes on the Rangers. Any last points on the Rangers before we move into the next one?
No, just if they want me to play, I'll go play.
Well, I don't know if that's called a call up, a call out, or what would you call it if they called you, Jimmy? What would that be?
I'd laugh first off and be like, that sounds like a lot of work, and I ain't doing it.
Well, if that happened, I'd be the first one to tell you, okay, Jimmy was right about John Daniels. He's completely lost.
Apparently John Daniels is playing for the Cowboys now and puffing the gun.
Okay, so let's get into a little socioeconomic, okay? Jimmy and I, we do our best to talk sports with you guys and have great dialogue in relation to that particular subject. But we also see our show as an opportunity to delve into more than just sports.
Sure.
Am I right?
Sure. And I think that, talking about what we're about to talk to, we've addressed it a couple times. So just as a disclaimer, we're going to probably talk about some things that some of you may be uncomfortable with.
I guarantee you some people are going to be uncomfortable with it, but these are the conversations that we need to have to move us forward. Because America in general is a divided country, and we just look at it and want to do a little bit that we can do to start a conversation that may generate some form or some semblance of healing.
Sure. And
so sometimes when it comes to the heavy topics, you have to have those conversations. Am I right?
Yeah, because one, and you've got to be able to do it in an environment of trust, because some things are going to be said that may not have ill intent, but possibly received with ill intent.
And let me tell everybody this from the beginning. Jimmy and I, we didn't just show up at High Vibe and start doing sports rehab. We've known each other for a few years now.
Yeah.
And so I can tell you that one of the reasons that I feel comfortable about getting into these particular subjects is because I know the heart of the man. And so in knowing his heart, I'm comfortable saying I know I'm going to have good, open, and honest dialogue, and he's going to give me a point of view that I can listen to and trust that it's coming from that good man's heart. So understand, when we have these conversations, he and I don't always talk about them beforehand.
Right.
We want to give out. We want this to be as original as it possibly can be, and when it comes to it, when it's all said and done, I guarantee you, this is not a guy who has any form of racism or intent to be hurtful towards his fellow man in any capacity. I feel comfortable saying that, and I've known him for several years. And trust me, I'm not one that trusts everybody.
Right.
I'm not one to trust hardly anybody. Right. Especially not any Redskins fan. But
that's hurtful. That's hurtful.
But with all that being said, we're going to talk about a heavy topic here, and you want to set it up? You want me to
so some things have happened. Vince and I had a conversation last week. Lotus was here, our producer. After we had the conversation about the Tupac movie, one of the things I've noticed is, for those of you who don't know, I love old school hip hop. I mean, it is, especially the reality raps, but going back, Houdini was greatness. Kool Moe Dee, Big Daddy Kane, those kind of things. I have Run DMC hold a very special place in my heart because they developed the type of music and really a culture that I enjoy being part of. But with that being said, as I'm re-listening to All Eyes on Me, and Vince and I are even talking about, what are some of our all-time favorite hip-hop songs. For me, How Do You Want It by Tupac is just a fun song that I can, no matter when it comes on, what's going on, if I'm about to get out of the car, well, you're going to have to wait 5 minutes because I got to let this song finish. But there's a word in that song, as in a lot of hip-hop songs, and again, the N-word is used explicitly. And when I'm sitting there and I'm singing the song, I don't even realize that I'm saying it. And I'm not, as Vince said, I'm not saying it as I'm calling someone that. I'm doing it with malice or hatred to direct a point to somebody. It's like any song you like knowing the words. And if you hear a song 100 times, whether you choose to know the words or not, they're going to be in your brain. So, with that, that's part of what we're going to talk about. And then, Vince, what happened 2 days ago?
Okay, so since we're talking about the use of the N-word, a couple of days ago, there was a member of Parliament. This is British Parliament. Her name is Anne Marie Morris. And she casually used the term and was recorded using it. And the way she used it, and I'm going to quote this, and this is going to be the only time that I say it as she said it, because I'm not always comfortable utilizing it myself in certain situations. But she said, Brexit without a deal from the European Union was the real nigger in the woodpile. I'm going to let that sink in for just a second. And so, of course, she got reprimanded and suspended.
And this is a mid-50s white woman.
Yes, this is a mid-50s white woman. And for those of you who don't know what that means, N-word in the woodpile, that was something that originated in the 1800s because a lot of slaves, in trying to escape the South, move north, they would try to find cover and refuge in places where they were not easily seen. And oftentimes they hid under piles of wood. Some of that wood would be somewhere on other plantations, things of that nature. And so they would always check the wood piles whenever they were looking for some of these runaway fugitive slaves. And so when you use that term, what you're typically saying is there's something wrong. Or, as we say in America, the devil's in the details.
Yeah, what's wrong that I'm not seeing?
Right.
What's going on with this deal? Tell me the things that, what am I not asking that's going to really tell me what product I'm buying here?
What hasn't been disclosed.
Right.
And so what stunned me was her so casual use of the term, like she just said, there's something up with this.
Right.
But that's not what she said. She said the N-word in the woodpile, and it caused alarm in Britain. And when I saw it, it caused alarm in me. And so I asked Jimmy, I said, hey, let's get into the conversation of how that word is used by white people in America, and let's discuss how comfortable you are, I am, and what I really believe some of our listeners are when that's done.
Well, as you know, and Vince was very kind in his words, I can't say it as it pertains to directing it to somebody. Now, but as I just said, I know I've said it 1,000 times in singing hip-hop lyrics. I am genuinely trying to do better, because I'm not going to stop listening to hip-hop. That's just not going to happen.
Right.
But what I can't have is it be so casual, just even in singing lyrics, that if somebody else is in the car with me, that I may not know, and I drop that, you've now damaged your brand from the, and not that it's about me. Let me be clear about that. But if that's a future opportunity from an employer standpoint or something of that nature, whatever the case, things stick with people. And no matter how little or how much they know you, if they've never heard you say that before, in whatever context, to that person, I am now a racist.
And the reason that people will be quick to label you that is because it is a racist term. And let me give a little history here. As far as there's racism, and then there's prejudice.
Oh,
See,
yeah.
Prejudice is when, I have inherent biases against something for some particular reason. Racism is when I have the power to socially cripple or hurt another race via my actions. Mm-hmm. And so we call it a racist term because when it was used previously, it was from, say, said slave master to the slave in a racist way, because I am able to cripple you based on my standing versus your standing. I have the type of power in order to exact my will to hold you down. And so that's racism.
Yes.
Yes, that's different from prejudice. So we see that word as, and I'm not to say I'm speaking for all black people, but I'm going to give you what my take on it is. We see it as a racist term to remind us of our place in American society, our derogatory historical place. It's a term that we look at when white people utilize it and truly and honestly believe the minute that they utter it, it is racist.
No doubt.
Okay? And that's because of the history of the word. It is one of the most heinous words that has ever been used, because it was meant to subject you and identify you as a lower level person.
If you were property. You were property.
Right. It was used to identify you that particular kind of way. It was meant to demean you. And any word that is meant to demean you, you are not going to take kindly to under any context.
Not at all.
And so I definitely understand your use of it from the standpoint of, Vince, I was really just rapping a rap lyric. But I think that, and this is my personal opinion, I think that everyone has to be aware of their audience when using certain language. If I'm around older black people,
ooh,
I'm not using that word because I know how they receive it. Now, if I'm around some of my boys, we've turned an ugly word that's heinous, and a lot of us have turned it into something that's endearing, almost the way of saying, that's my boy, that's my this. So we've kind of embraced the negativity and made it positive. And that's what black culture does. They take a lot of things that are negative and make it cool. Even the word bad, we turned that out and made it cool. So that's part of our culture. It's what we do. But when people from outside of our culture utilize it, it's very similar to the situation with me and an older African American, whereas I know they see it as derogatory, so I would not use it. So if I'm around a particular audience, I have to be mindful.
Right. Because
everyone knows how ugly the word is and what its initial intent was.
Which, my belief is, in talking with someone just before the show, the same as the word bitch. Mm-hmm. When directed to typically a woman, you are being derogatory. You're having a negative connotation of that's a lower class of person. But you'll see woman after woman call each other that in jest and in fun. The real reality, or the new reality that should come about, and I think you would probably agree with me, is everybody should just stop using the words. No matter which side of the fence you're on at this point. Now, it's hard because it becomes common nomenclature. It's part of the vernacular. It's just how I talk. But I'm as I was saying last week, I've never thought to myself, Jimmy, you're a racist because you're singing these lyrics, but then you realize some people will genuinely, no matter how they see me, will have a problem with me saying it solely because I'm a white man saying that word.
Well, and you make a point right there, but I'll be frank with you. I don't have a problem if I hear other women referring to themselves by the term bitch. I don't have a problem in. Or if I hear two people that are LGBT referring to each other in a negative connotation.
Sure.
I don't have a problem with it. And the same way, if I hear, now I will correct young kids that are using it, and I'll tell them, hey, have some respect, don't use it around me. I will correct that, but if I hear my boys using it, I don't have a problem with them going backward and forward with the word, because there isn't the same amount of history
sure
with it. When it's white towards black, we definitely have a history that is extremely negative. When it's black towards black, there's no negative history there. Most of us grew up with the thought that this is a term of endearment. And I take it that women also, when they refer to it and their friends amongst each other, there isn't very much history, negative history behind the word. So I think that I won't say that, hey, we need to eliminate these words from our vernacular. What I'll say is, I think you always have to be mindful of your audience. So I'm not going to use, I would never use the B word in relation to a woman.
Right.
I think that's utterly disrespectful.
No doubt.
From my standpoint, and I have too much respect in order to do it. But if I hear women call each other, I don't bat an eyelash over it.
Right.
I think they have the right.
Well, sure.
to refer to themselves how they want to refer to themselves.
So for someone like myself, where it's funny because I'm very rarely serious, but when I came to you and Lotus last week when we were talking about that, you could tell I was concerned because I'm sitting there going, how does that come off? Because I don't ever want it to. So for me, knowing how I am, and I know a lot of people that are this way, I a lot of times don't filter my audience. And so I have to just grow to the point of I just don't say it at all, no matter what. No matter whether I'm alone or if I'm with you and we're both singing the lyrics to, All Eyes on Me. If we're doing that, I still need to be cognizant of the fact that I don't want there to be any of that gray area, because friends have problems down the road. There are going to be times friends grow frustrated with one another, and when that happens, we start looking for little things that are ammunition against that friend, and I don't want to have those little seeds planted that grow into a wall, a dividing wall. And so, different opinions here. I'm of the mindset that if we could just everybody stop using it, because the other thing I hate is seeing the white culture going, well, you guys use it all the time to each other, why can't I say it? We live in a world because it's just like with parents. Because I said so. That's why. You just can't. And so for me, it's growing to the point of I don't want to have to consider my audience, so I'm just not going to use it at all. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And so, but for someone to come out like this and say it as casually in front of respected politicos, as if it's, she has said this before. Bill Maher went through the same ordeal.
Yes.
He wasn't trying to be derogatory towards someone, but it's still the way he came out. And it was funny to see Ice Cube walk out the next week and be like, I like your show, but, and he had a similar conversation. He's like, this is our word. You cannot use it. I mean, inherently, it's lips, tongue, and teeth pressing together in different shapes to make sounds. That's all it is. but the connotation of it, especially when you have a big audience like she did, clearly, like when Bill Maher did, and these are things that you don't get in the world we live in. You can't back up and go, "Well, I totally didn't mean to say that."
Well, in her connotation, I mean, I know people may think I'm taking it too far, but it's a racist connotation.
Not at all, no doubt.
Because what she is in a position of power,
right?
And she is someone, if that gets out, she can sway the way other people think.
Of course.
So I can actually practice racism. And when you make racist comments, that's exactly what you're doing. You're encouraging additional racism.
Yeah.
And so in her, I think there is a difference. I don't think it's at all appropriate for someone in a position of authority. Personally, I don't agree with using it in a lot of situations, but when someone in a position of authority does it, there is no doubt in my mind that it's racist. I went to the bazaar in Pleasant Grove not too long ago, and I stopped into one of the radio shops, and I hear Hispanics, and they were throwing the word around.
Yeah. And
it caught me completely off guard. I'm not with the times, but I had never heard it tossed around like that by other cultures, and that is now apparently being adopted. But what I will say is exactly what you were talking about earlier. This is the hip-hop generation.
Yeah.
They grew up with these lyrics and are now comfortable with this word because it's so prevalent within the lyrics.
Right.
And so I kind of understand why they are using it, because of the generation they grew up in and because they don't understand or recognize the history associated with it.
They've never seen the pain that goes with it.
Right.
And you and I come on the tail end of that. Not that I don't know, we've talked about some experiences that you've had and obviously that I've never experienced, but we definitely know our parents have seen vividly and felt vividly what that word does to people, because as much as some people don't want to believe it, words are incredibly powerful, especially if people are put into a position that their weapon is their words.
Yes.
And when you can start using that and back it with force, now you have hatred. And hatred has never proved to be a winning formula. Never. Never once.
And like we say, these are the type of conversations that we do have privately, and sometimes we have to clean out our closet.
Yeah.
And so it's good to get these type conversations and bring them to the forefront so that Jimmy can understand what I think.
Sure.
And the people that look like me think. And I can understand, because even though we may come from different races, we all live on the same planet, and we got to do it together.
Right. So
when it's all said and done.
Yeah.
And any final thoughts, Jimmy?
The whole time I've been sitting here, I've been trying to find different little ways that I can get me an Otto Porter contract. Seriously, this cat he's done something that, he's won the lottery is what he's done. And I'm sitting here going, I got to be one out of 312 million to win the lotto. Otto and lotto, those rhyme.
And he hit the lotto.
Otto hit the lotto. And
Otto hit the lotto.
This is me being jealous. So
nothing wrong with a little jealousy every now and then.
But we're going to be back in 2 weeks. Is that right?
Too?
Yeah.
It's up to us, man.
Right. No. We'll figure it out.
Okay. We're leaning towards 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's such the slow season. We'll build on some NFL free agency stuff that's coming about here in the near future. We got the trade deadline coming up for Major League Baseball. We got to get into MLS talk.
Absolutely. Everybody loves Major League Soccer.
I didn't even know that's what it stood for.
Oh, and we forgot Wimbledon's going on right now. We got to talk a little Wimbledon.
We got to talk Djokovic dropping out.
We got to talk Venus winning Wimbledon. This is a possibility.
It is a possibility. She's 37.
37. And we all know when it comes to the four majors, this is her event.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
It's unreal that we're seeing her and Federer. Yes. Federer's in late 30s. I mean,
that's his event.
Yeah.
Wimbledon is his. I think, what does he have, 7 of them on the grass?
Yeah. If he wins this, he'll be the first one to ever have 8.
Yeah. I mean,
Nadal's the only one that's ever won more of one single tournament. He got his 10th French.
Yeah. Nadal's on clay. We'll get into the discussion one day. Who's better, Nadal, Federer, or Sampras?
Sampras, God, and it goes deeper than that. I mean, Yeah, we'll get into that.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
So, you guys, we appreciate you tuning in with us today. I know, like I say, some of the conversations heavy, but these are the conversations that we may not want to have, but we absolutely need to have. And I'm talking about Otto Porter.
Really do appreciate you guys. I really
Absolutely. Jimmy and I, we're out. This is Sports Rehab. Thank you for tuning in. This is the place where all the sports addicts go. Please come back. We want to talk to you again in about 2 weeks.
All right. Thanks,
We're
guys.
out.